Hello, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We're still going to give you a couple more seconds to complete the poll because we're also keen to understand who's in the webinar today. So just take a few more seconds and complete the poll. Yeah, let's close the poll. Well, that's exciting. We have actually quite a big group of product managers in the room, leaders also, but about half of the audience actually does not have a product owner background, but is coming from a different domain. Very interesting. So let's get started with the webinar. Let me share my screen with you. Can you see my screen? I don't think so.
Not yet. I think we'll have to share the results.
Good. Let me try one more time. Just oh, here are the results. Very good.
Great.
There we go. Good. Thanks everybody for joining. Today we're going to discuss the changing role of the product owner in a DevOps world. The product owner role was introduced by Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber in 1995 in what now is considered a mythical white paper that they created describing the Scrum framework. So the product owner in a team is the one who decides what development is going to do. And the activities managed by the product owner are called product ownership. And the product owner is also sometimes known as product champion, product director, value manager. With DevOps, what we're seeing is that the role of the product owner is changing rapidly. There are many more activities happening within the team, and as a result also, there's a lot more coming at the product owner, not just new feature design, but also managing changes. So with this rapid evolution, DASA introduced a new program into the market towards the end of last year, the DASA DevOps Product Owner Certification. And that's what we're going to talk about today. I would like to thank you all for joining this webinar. My name is Arjan Woertman. I am head of the DASA editorial board. The editorial board is responsible for building new DASA programs for the certifications that DASA has designed and is taking to the market, and is looking out continuously also to try to understand if the programs that we have built actually make sense and are valid. I'm stepping in here because maybe you were expecting Dimitri van den Broek today, but unfortunately he fell ill. So I'm taking the honors for hosting this webinar. Together with me here today is Sanjeev, and Sanjeev is well versed in the area of product ownership and product management, and I would like Sanjeev to take a minute to introduce himself. Sanjeev?
Thank you so much. I'm Sanjeev Kulkarni, and I have about 12 years of experience in product management, working with companies like Walmart.com and Intel. I've worked with Walmart.com for about 5 years in the US, and then moved to India to work with McAfee, Intel Security, for about 3 years before starting on my own. I'm now the founder of Product Shala. At Product Shala, we do product management consulting and product management trainings. I would like to thank the DASA team to have invited me for interacting with this wonderful audience today.
Very good. Thank you very much. And to all of you, we would like this to be a very interactive webinar. So that means that there's lots of room for questions towards the end of the webinar. So while we're presenting and while we're talking about the DASA DevOps Product Owner Certification or about DASA, feel free to please write your questions in the question section, and then we will try to address many of them towards the end of the webinar. Good. So agenda for today. I mean, the heart of the presentation is about the DASA DevOps product owner and the changing role of the product owner in today's business. Sanjeev is going to talk about that. But before we get there, I'm going to talk a little bit more about DASA. It may be familiar to you, but it is also possible that some of you are quite new to DASA. And I'm going to just provide a brief background there. So let's start with that. Let's start with the reason why we started DASA, why we took DASA to the market, and basically the existence of the DevOps Agile Skills Association. So if you look at what is happening in the market, for many years already, we are realizing that something really exciting is going on. The day and age that we are in right now are also considered to be the fourth industrial revolution. We're moving away from mass production and we're really moving into digital businesses. Digital business models are coming up everywhere, and it's really changing the way that we work. And this is specifically impacting IT. And IT is now undergoing a transformation that the automotive industry was undergoing in the 1980s, 1990s, and with the objective to deliver IT value much faster than ever before. What it does, it changes a lot of things of how IT is structured. I mean, it changes how people work individually within functions. It changes the way people work together within teams, but it also changes the way that IT is being managed from a hierarchical model to a much more collaborative, bottom-up type of model. But one of the biggest things that we've realized over the last few years also that yes, there is a lot of structural change, but at the same time, a lot of this change is really driven by culture. Culture is becoming more and more important. So why DASA then? Why did we start DASA? Well, what we are realizing is that the transformation that organizations are going through is not an easy one. It really requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of change within companies, and it's difficult, but really necessary for the evolution of IT to happen. And in DASA, we are very passionate about helping organizations become successful with DevOps. We want to share our experiences, we want to share our best practices, and we want organizations who are embarking on this journey to succeed. And in order to do that, DASA continues to develop a lot of thought leadership. We're building a lot of information and guidance that help organizations in this journey. But specifically also, we're really trying to help the individuals in the organization to make this switch themselves and to make this change happen within them. In order to do that, we build a number of capabilities, and we're also building a number of certification programs to actually do that. And I'm going to start with probably the most significant piece of work that we've done since DASA started in 2016, and we call it the DASA DevOps Competence Model. So we believe that in order for organizations to become successful, they work with teams. And within those teams, people work collaboratively together. Teams are formed of T-shaped professionals who are able to pick up work from others and who are able to take on the end-to-end responsibility for a product or a service. What we've identified is 8 knowledge areas and 4 skills that actually are relevant for everyone in a team to work effectively in DevOps. So these 12 capabilities are known as the competence model. And in order for anyone to work within a DevOps environment, we're expecting that everybody in a team at least is competent in all of those 12 areas. A small side note here, there's a scan available at the DASA website. So if you go to the DevOps Agile Skills Association website, you can actually take a self-assessment and try to understand how you are performing against the competence model yourself. So we're saying everybody at least needs to be competent in all of the 12 areas. But for a team to be effective, we're expecting actually that the entire team operates at what we call the expert level in all of those 12 areas. And not everybody needs to be a rock star in all of the areas. It's really about the combination of the people in the team to achieve this level. So somebody may be much better at programming and somebody else may be much better at business analysis, but together everybody has to ensure that the team has to ensure that level 4 expert level is being achieved. And this model has been now adopted by many organizations across the world, and it's really helping organizations to try to understand how are teams performing and how do we make sure that the various teams have the right capabilities in order to become high performing teams. DASA also built a certification scheme, and the idea behind this is that the certifications that are provided by DASA actually help to address specific skill gaps. So the DASA DevOps Fundamentals program ensures that everyone in the team is at that level 2 or competent. So it addresses all of the 12 capabilities. The professional level really is a professional level certification program, ensuring that all of the 12 capabilities are addressed at level 3. The Specify and Verify program is geared towards those in the business analysis, business requirements area. Enable and Scale is for those who are there to lead the team, to help the team move forward. And Create and Deliver is for building continuous delivery pipelines, making sure that products are being released to the market all the time. So there's a new level that we introduced at the beginning of this year. Also, we call it the leadership level, because we also realize that it's important to have everybody in the team work effectively together, but there's a bit more needed in the organization also to make it happen. And that's why we introduced the product owner, the leader, and the coach at the leadership level. Here we're talking about the ability to perform leadership activities, and which is a bit different than the professional level, which is really much more about building capabilities to actually do work. Today, we're going to talk about the product owner as one of those leadership capabilities. And that's where I'm also very happy to hand this over to Sanjeev and to walk us through that program. Sanjeev, floor is all yours.
Thank you so much, Aryan. So yeah, let's get started here. As far as product owners are concerned, let's try to understand that the product owner role was introduced in Scrum. And even today, if you look at the way product owners function, they are geared more towards Scrum and more towards development. They work towards development of new features or capabilities within organizations. Now, as far as agility is concerned, when teams started deciding to move towards agility, a lot of organizations started adopting Scrum. But if you look at it, over a period of time, they realized that the velocity of these teams became predictable, and these teams started delivering usable software every 2 weeks. But the software, the products, the features, the solutions, etc., that were built was not usable until it was released to the market. The release could not happen every 2 weeks because a lot of organizations had operations teams, the release teams, which were at loggerheads with development because they did not want the systems to be unstable. Releasing features and solutions and capabilities every 2 weeks would have actually impacted the stability of the systems, and therefore, the release teams, the operations teams were always at loggerheads with development. But over the last few years, we've started hearing a lot about DevOps and how a DevOps mindset, wherein the root cause of why there was a lot of instability because of change in the system, the root cause was because of quality. And if this quality aspect was taken care of by the development teams themselves, wherein they make sure that the code that they release to production will not hamper the stability of the production systems, then and also start taking on additional responsibilities, like let's say they start taking care of the release of features, and they also start taking care of incidents that occur because of the release of these features into production. When all of this starts happening, we start moving towards a DevOps mindset. But with all of this, if you look at the role of one of the most crucial persons or team members uh, uh, within an organization, which is the product owner. If you look at this person and see how that role is getting impacted, it is getting impacted heavily. If you look at it, uh, uh, now the team has to start taking on additional responsibilities. And if I were to quote an example from a personal experience here, you would observe that let's say if you are a product manager or a product owner for a retail organization, and you own the cart and checkout functionality, let's say. When owning the cart and checkout functionality, it is your prerogative as a product owner now with DevOps that you have to take care of the stability of the system as well. When you release new features, your cart or checkout functionality cannot fail, because this is one of the most crucial functions or features within a retail website. Now, if you release a feature and let's say your calls to the payment gateways start failing suddenly, what happens is there is an urgent incident that gets created, and you have to fix that. As a team, if you have already planned your backlog and now there is an incident that is coming in between the sprint, you have to actually start taking care of that, because it is a P1 incident and you have to take care of these kind of issues. So how do you take care of these kind of issues in between the sprints is what a DevOps mindset would help you with. And that is where we're saying that, a high performing DevOps team requires the product owner to start taking on the end-to-end management of the entire life cycle of the product, right from inception to the retirement of the product. So Aryan, if you could move on to the next slide. you know if you look at the profile of a DevOps product owner, the DevOps product owner is usually a business savvy person with about 3 to 5 years of work experience in business analysis or product management. This is also the person that has experience in requirements management, has solid understanding of the software development lifecycle, is a genuine leader with strong communication skills and has the ability to influence others, uh, is slightly impatient. You have to be impatient because you have to keep change happening, right? And that's why a product owner is usually a little impatient, and also has the mandate from the business. This is one of the most important things. As a product owner, if you don't have the mandate from business, it will be very hard for you to function as a product manager or a product owner. So next. So with the DASA DevOps product owner certification, what we are saying now is DevOps product owners in DevOps will have the extended responsibility not just of designing and building systems, but also maintaining products, right? So in this course, in the DASA DevOps product owner course, you will learn about the role of a product owner in a DevOps context. If you look at a lot of other certification programs, the product owner certification programs from other organizations, the focus is mostly on agile principles, the Scrum framework, and the Scrum processes, which is also something that we cover in this course. But over and above that, the key responsibilities of the product owner in a DevOps context is what we cover as part of this certification. And then, we also talk a lot about how do you envision products, what are the different tools that you use to create your product, to create your vision boards, etc., etc. And uh, we also talk about how do you maximize translate, and deliver product value using different tools and techniques in this course. Next. So in short, we are saying that the DASA DevOps product owner certification has a systematic responsibility, or rather the DASA DevOps product owner has a systematic responsibility for the entire life cycle of the product. This is the person that has to deal with mixed set of requirements, not just new product features, but also incidents on the current version of the product. Product owners will engage with a lot of stakeholders. So we actually define within this course as to how do you engage with different kinds of stakeholders. And there's a model that we suggest. There is a stakeholder management framework that we suggest. And the DASA qualification deals with the extended set of requirements that the product owner has to face when teams start taking on both dev and ops responsibilities. The program also covers Agile and Scrum concepts, which is covered in most programs, but we'll also cover that, but in the context of DevOps. The target audience for this certification is product owners, existing product owners with certification or without certification, aspiring product owners, key business users, agile coaches, operational leads, etc. There is no prerequisite as such for this certification, but it is recommended that you have the DevOps, the DASA DevOps fundamentals, but it's not necessary. This is a 2-day classroom workshop, and after the workshop, you have to take an exam. You have to score 26 on 40 to pass this exam, and the exam can be taken online as well as there is also a paper-based option. After taking the exam, you get the certificate from DASA for DevOps product owner. Next. So what does the career path really look like? For a business analyst or a product owner or aspiring people within teams who are currently in technical roles but want to progress towards the product owner role. Next. So, you may be a product owner or a business analyst, and let's see on the next slide how, the different career paths look like. If you're a business analyst, you may start even before you move on to the business analyst role, you might probably within a technical team, or rather I would call this as a DevOps team rather, and in a DevOps team, you might be one of the developers or one of the team members. And as part of this team, you get introduced to DevOps and you take the first certification course, which is the DASA DevOps Fundamentals course. You spend some time as a team member in the DevOps team, and based on your interests, if you like to strengthen your skills and capabilities in the areas of user story creation, designing for business value, and building test specifications, etc. You then move on to take the certification, which is called the Specify and Verify Professional Level Certification. This is specifically for people who specify and verify requirements, essentially business analysts. And then, over a period of time, after you spend some time in that role as a business analyst in a DevOps team, there's a possibility that you may want to move on in your career to progress towards the product owner role. Maybe you've spent about a couple of years, and then you want to become a product owner. At that point, you are now perfectly fit to start taking the DevOps product owner class and the exam. This is essentially the career path that we envisage for business analysts. But if you're already an existing product owner, uh, for somebody who is an existing product owner in the Indian context, you may probably have a B school graduation. You might have spent about 1 or 2 years in business analysis or product ownership roles in some organizations. There's also a possibility that you've already spent about 6 to 8 years in a product owner role and are already certified, maybe even for those people who are already certified in product ownership. For those people, if they have to now move from Scrum to DevOps, or they want to recommend DevOps to their they want to first learn about DevOps and then start recommending DevOps within their organizations, within their teams. How do they do that, right? Uh, the first thing they do is, they can take the DASA DevOps product owner certification. And since product owners are natural leaders, over a period of time after they've spent a few years as product owners, we would recommend them to take the DevOps leader course, the leader certification for moving on to a larger DevOps leadership position within the organization.
It's time for some questions, and I've been monitoring the question area for a bit now, and I think the first thing that I guess I have to apologize for is that at the beginning the polling didn't go very smoothly, so there were quite a number of people who were not able to provide their response. Something we'll look into. I guess we need some more practicing with how to use the polling system to get that over. But thanks for raising that. We do have a number of new questions coming in, and there are more questions coming in also. So there are some really good questions. So I'm going to start with the first one, and either Sanjeev will take them on or I will take them on. And I think the first one really is for Sanjeev. So brace yourself there. So in development, what really is the difference between the role of the product owner and the project manager, Sanjeev?
Okay, so project manager really comes from traditional product development methodologies, right? Especially waterfall. A project manager was used to be somebody who used to take care of being the person who used to be uh, the person who actually directs the team as to what needs to be done and how it needs to be done. A project manager also used to be the face of the project team to the business stakeholders. But now, as teams started moving on to Scrum and other agile methodologies, the role of the product owner was introduced. And, you did not want somebody to tell the team what needs to be done. You wanted somebody to actually define what the customers want, and based on a vision for a product, define what is required to be done uh, from a product perspective, but you don't tell the team exactly how that needs to be done. That is what the project managers used to do in the erstwhile uh, waterfall methodology, where they used to tell the team how it needs to be done. But now, since you have self-governing cross-functional teams, these teams are self-sufficient to actually define how they should achieve their goals. So that's really the difference between a product manager and a project manager. But over and above all of these uh, uh, responsibilities, the product manager is also the person who actually defines the vision, the strategy, the strategic goals of the product, and this is the person who also owns the product backlog. So the product manager or the product owner in certain contexts is the person who really owns the product, and which may not be the case in case of a project manager, because the project manager might be there for the until the end of the project, and you know after the end of the project, the team is just disbanded.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. So, but it really comes down to the fact also that work is being broken up into smaller chunks, and the team is self-sustainable and creating their own basically planning in order to do that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing that. There's another question. Sanjeev, you explained that the role of the product owner actually is quite broad about designing, maintaining, overseeing the product. So the question is, but what does the rest of the team do? So what does the technical team do? What are the engineers doing?
Absolutely. So, the product owner role, while it is very broad, who is it that actually delivers the product? Who is it that is going to actually build the product for you? You're going to define what your product should do, but what is it that your team will do? Now, your team, let's say if it is a DevOps team, your team will consist of people from development, from testing. You may also have people from database. You may also have people who will take care of your CI/CD pipelines, setting up your CI/CD pipelines, etc. Right now, that is what your team will constitute of, and these are the people who will be actually taking care of creating your product. Right, you are not creating the product as the product owner. You have the responsibility of defining what your product will do. So that's essentially where there's a stark difference between what the team does and what the product owner does. But the product owner has the heavy responsibility of actually defining the vision for the product, and communicating that vision really effectively to the team, so that the team is buying into that vision, and the goals that are set for the product as well as for the organization are steered into the team through the product owner.
Perfect. So you're basically explaining the role of the product owner to be much more in charge of the vision of the product and the scope of the product, but not actually doing the work. So you're in a way also addressing.
The product owner doesn't have to write code, right? That is something that the team will do.
So then the question: how much actually does the product owner need to know about CI/CD and in-depth knowledge about the technology?
Oh, a lot. There will be a lot of conversations that will be around defining your requirements, or defining your, let's say, uh, the vision for your, or the capabilities that you might need from a CI/CD perspective. There will be a lot of discussions that might happen around web services, microservices, etc. If you don't understand these concepts, it will be very difficult for you to function in that role, right? So as a product manager, you will really need to understand functionally what the team is talking about, right? If you don't know these things, you will have to actually go back and learn about these things. But you may not be required to actually uh, uh, write the web services, write the APIs, etc. You don't have to define the APIs. You have to define what the APIs need to do, right? You need to first understand what APIs mean. You need to understand what microservices do. You need to understand, for example, what continuous integration and a continuous delivery pipeline is going to do, right? Once you understand these things, there will be a lot of things around how these things are going to be achieved, and there will have to be requirements and user stories and epics, etc., that will have to be defined at a team level or at a portfolio level, that a product manager or a product owner will have to do.
And so basically, you need to understand it at the conceptual level without actually being able to actually do the work. That's what you're saying,
Yes,
right?
yes. You need to understand all of these concepts, of course. Otherwise, you may not be able to participate in a conversation that's happening between the team, the architects, and let's say the engineering managers, for example. When these kind of conversations happen, you may get, as a product owner, if you do not understand these things, as a product owner, you may get sidelined because you do not understand these concepts. So it is always a great idea to understand, learn. If you don't understand, it is always a great idea to actually interact with senior people within the organization who understand these things and will be able to help you understand as a product manager to the extent that you need to understand.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. What are the key differences with the DASA DevOps product owner and CSPO or SAFe PMPO?
Yeah, I think we covered that briefly when we were talking about the different kinds of certifications available in the market. There are quite a few certification programs available today: CSPO, PSPO. Uh, uh, there's also the Exin Agile Scrum product owner, etc. Now, the stark difference here is that while the concepts of Agile, Scrum, and Lean are covered as part of the DevOps product owner course by DASA, we have a strong focus of linking it back to DevOps, right? So, we talk about Lean, Agile, and Scrum in the context of DevOps as far as the product owner role is concerned. Again, coming back to one of the examples that I talked about, how do you handle incidents in between the sprints? As far as Scrum is concerned, it is not a very great idea to actually touch the sprint backlog as soon as the after the product backlog grooming is done, and the sprint planning is done. uh, the team is set to achieve its goals for the next 2 weeks after the sprint planning is done. The team has created a sprint backlog now. But as far as Scrum is concerned, it's not a great idea to actually touch the sprint backlog. But with DevOps, if there is a P1 incident that comes in between the sprint, how do you handle it really, right? So these are some of the kinds of challenging situations that you will cover. We'll end up covering in the DASA DevOps product owner course.
Perfect. Good. Now a question actually I'm also able to answer. So this is a more structural question around DASA. So the question is, will DASA provide vanilla courseware to the market? So the answer to that one is that DASA does not work with the concept of vanilla courseware. In DASA, there are organizations that are identified as courseware partners, and anyone can become a courseware partner because the entire DASA model is open, which means any organization can take on any of the different types of roles that are there. So courseware partners actually build courseware, and DASA validates that the courseware meets the learning objectives of the syllabus. Training partners are organizations who buy courseware from the courseware partners and then deliver that courseware along with exams to the market. So at the moment, there are about 4 courseware partners in the market, and you can find them on the DASA website. And there are about 300 training partners in the market who are using the courseware from one of those courseware partners. Related to this also, there is no self-study type of offering. There is an online learning offering available, but you cannot just go and buy an exam. You really need to take a formal training program in order to sit the exam. So that's how the DASA model is designed, because we really want to make sure that we, like we said in the vision of DASA, we really want to make sure we help organizations take the most out of DevOps and benefit from it. And we believe that this was the best approach to do that. Questions keep popping in, so I'm not sure if we're able to answer all of them, but are there fees for courseware partners? Yes, there also are fees. The fees are on the DASA website, and otherwise you can always get in touch with DASA to get a full understanding of what the different fees are for the different levels. We'll pick one more question.
There are quite a few. There are a lot of questions there.
I know. That's the one also.
I think there's one interesting question here, which is about how much of the workshop is technical in nature with in-depth knowledge of DevOps CI/CD, right?
Perfect.
I think Aryan, if you go back to that slide that we had on the certification scheme.
Here we go.
So if you look at the professional level certifications that we have, the create and deliver certification is something that will cover the CI/CD pipeline and everything technical in nature. The DASA DevOps product owner does not cover the technical aspects of it. It is for people who will actually be creating the CI/CD pipeline and delivering it, right? So that is covered in that certification.
Perfect. Good. Well, I'm suggesting we'll leave it here. We will make sure that we provide an answer to all of the questions provided. And if you have more questions, also, I hope you know where to find us. But on the DASA DevOps website are all the contact informations. We will also make sure you receive a copy of these slides so that you have full access to that. And leaving it there, I really want to thank you, Sanji, for spending the time with us and to walk us through this and sharing some of your experience and expertise. And thanks everybody for listening today, for joining today. I wish you a very happy afternoon, evening, or morning, wherever you are. Thanks a lot from us, and talk to you in our next webinar. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.